This video is on what if Naruto was raised by Jiraiya and Tsunade Part 1. The like goal for this what if is 39 likes. Sooner like goal is meets sooner I will upload the next part for this what if. If you enjoy this what if, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Disclaimer, I don't own Naruto nor this fanfic. Jiraiya stood in front of the gates of Konoha, contemplating the place that it had been his home for such a long time. That's it, until Orochimaru's betrayal and Tsunade's self-imposed exile made it unbearable for the Toad Sage to continue living there. He never had a permanent home from that moment onwards, hopping from one town to another, doing his research and having one-night stands with beautiful and easy-to-charm women. He only returned sporadically to pay a visit to his student and friend, Minato Namikaze. It has been 3 months since the latest, and now last, of those visits. They talked about Jiraiya's failed book, The Tale of the Gutsy Ninja, and how Minato wanted to name his firstborn son after the main character of said book, Naruto. In the meantime, Jiraiya wrote his first erotic novel, Kaka Paradise, which became a bestseller in no time, enriching his already large bank account. He had been planning to drop by once the kid was born in order to give the newborn some nice gift. In fact, he was on his way to Konoha when a courier ninja arrived and told him about the tragic news, and that his presence was required in the village. Upon reading the letter with all the details, at first he thought it was some sort of tasteless joke, but the letter he was carrying had the stamp of the Hokage's office. And now, just as he stood in front of the gates, he realized it wasn't a joke as he had secretly hoped. Even from the outside, Jiraiya could tell that Konoha had been victim of a devastating attack recently, which was confirmed the moment the Toad Sage walked into the village. The streets were nearly empty. Destroyed buildings left and right. Trails of smoke coming everywhere. The gray sky appeared to reflect the somber and depressing mood the village seemed to be in. Jiraiya hurried towards the Hokage's tower. Hokage's tower Hiruzen Sarutobi was in his former, soon to be his once again, office as he absent-mindedly looked through the window, lamenting the current state Konoha was in. An Anbu appeared behind him. Hokage-sama, Jiraiya-sama is here as you requested, the Anbu announced. The third turned around, and sighed. Tell him to come in, please. As you say, the Anbu said before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. A few seconds later, the white-haired sannin walked into the office. Hiruzen couldn't help but smile a little upon seeing his old student. Hello, Jiraiya, it's good to see you again, even if it's under such awful circumstances. How was your trip here? Hiruzen said as he sat down on his chair. Not to be rude, but that matters very little now. It's that true, Sensei? Are Minato and Kushina truly dead? Jiraiya asked, trying to suppress the anguish of his voice. Yes. Jiraiya averted Sarutobi's gaze, sighed, and whispered a profanity. He looked at his former sensei once again and asked, May I see the bodies? You may, but not now. There are urgent matters we must attend first before you can pay your respects to your student and his wife, Hiruzen gravely said. Matters that concern their son. Their son? Where is Naruto now? Is he okay? Jiraiya asked worriedly. Naruto is fine. He's possibly one of the few people who came out of this unscathed, Hiruzen said. I don't know if I'd call having a demon sealed inside him unscathed, Sensei, Jiraiya pointed out. Not to mention that kid just lost his parents. True. Excuse my lack of tact. And to answer your first question, he's downstairs, on the lower floor. A couple medical ninjas are taking care of him. Now, Naruto was the reason I called you here. Because I'm his godfather. Exactly. According to Minato and Kushina's will, they left everything to Naruto, all their physical assets, such their house and other properties, as well as all their liquid assets, which will be managed by his legal guardian until Naruto comes of age. And according to their will, this person is you. I see. An uncomfortable silence followed Jiraiya's laconic answer. So do I suppose that you're up to become Naruto's legal guardian and raise him until he's 18? Regardless of Minato's will, we can assign another legal guardian if you refuse. Jiraiya found the offer tempting. He had decided a long time ago that he would never settle down. That he would throw himself to the pleasures of life, to wander the world and enjoy it as much as possible. Taking care of a baby would make such thing impossible. He'd need to stay at a permanent place, a more than likely Konoha, since neither sensei nor the elders would allow the Kyuubi out of the village for other nations to take Hida, and had to prioritize Naruto's needs and well-being over everything else. No, the perspective of becoming a single father was everything but alluring. But then again, if he didn't take care of Naruto, who will? Almost nobody in the village would want to be near Naruto after the Kyuubi's rampage out of fear, and he knew that other people would try to turn him into a weapon, depriving him of a normal childhood. No, he had a moral responsibility towards Naruto. Nobody else would want to take care of Naruto and raise him like a normal child but him. Jiraiya soon would learn how wrong he was. He was about to give his sensei an answer when shouts from outside the office drew both men's attention. "Miss, I'm sorry but Hokage-sama is in a meeting. You can't disturb him now," a male voice said, which Jiraiya vaguely recognized as the Anbu he has been talking to. "Do you know who I am? I'm sure that sensei will make time for one of his old students." A female voice angrily replied, a voice Jiraiya knew too well. "Oh my, I didn't expect her to come here so soon. Or to come at all," Sarutobi said, visibly worried. "What is she doing here?" Jiraiya asked, equally worried. "You see, Hokage-sama's guest is also another one of his old students, and what? Get out of my way." Boom. Jiraiya and Sarutobi winced, and they both hoped that the poor Anbu wasn't too hurt. The office's door slammed open, and a big-breasted blonde burst in. She fixed her eyes on Jiraiya, and snarled. She then looked at Sarutobi with rage in her eyes. "Okami, I knew it. You're going to do it. Tsunade, harming my Anbu and breaking into my office like that is not an appropriate thing to do," Hiruzen said calmly. "Oh, can it, sensei? I came here to stop you from making a huge mistake," Tsunade said angrily. "And that mistake would be leaving a child under the care of this maniac," Tsunade said, pointing at Jiraiya. "I'm fine, Tsunade-hime, thanks for asking," the Toad Sage said in a deadpan tone, earning another glare from his former teammate. "I see. I suppose that you have a better candidate in mind?" Sarutobi asked, intrigued. "You are damn right. I myself would make a much better caretaker than this smut writer." "That's fine, but you don't have any legal base for claiming Naruto's guardianship." "I am his godfather and Minato left Naruto under my care should something happen to him and Kushina," Jiraiya retorted. "Yes, I have. Naruto's my family." "Yeah, sure. And I am the grandnephew of the Sage of the Six Paths." "It's true, you moron. Kushina was in Uzumaki, just like Mito, my grandmother. I am Naruto's only family, and thus I have a greater claim to be his guardian. While I admit I am no expert when it comes to parenthood, I'm pretty sure that taking care of a baby costs money. Lots and lots of money. And last time I checked, you were hounded by quite a few creditors. I'm aware that Minato had quite some money on his bank account. I can use that to cover Naruto's expenses. Yeah, if you don't blow up on a casino again," Jiraiya angrily said, and turned to his former master. "Sensei, you can't seriously leave Naruto under this compulsive gambler. I do have experience raising children. I've been raising Shizune since she was a little girl, and she turned out fine," Tsunade said before Sarutobi could answer. "Even with my flaws, there's no way I can't be worse than Jiraiya." "Alright, I heard enough," Hiruzen said, raising his voice and slamming his hands on the desk to make his former students to shut up. Both of you have good points, and I'm sure we can reach a compromise. What kind of compromise? Asked Tsunade. Shared custody? Not exactly. It's obvious that you want what's best for Naruto, so why don't you raise him together? You can cover each other's weaknesses, and I'm sure that Naruto will benefit better if he has both of you taking care of him instead of just one of you. But that means that we'll have to live together. Jiraiya said. He didn't like where this was going. Yes, of course. But we're not a couple. What the hell are we supposed to do, pretend that we're a happy marriage for Naruto's sake? Tsunade protested. You don't have to pretend anything. If it put your mind at ease, think of each other as being roommates with a couple common interests. Or teammates fulfilling a long-term mission, Hiruzen said, hoping his solution would appease both sannin. I don't know if this little meeting didn't made it obvious enough, but Tsunade and I aren't exactly on friendly terms, Jiraiya mentioned. Yeah, I saw. But there was a time in which you'd take a kunai to the gut for the other. I have faith you'll mend your relationship, at least for Naruto's sake, Sarutobi said. It's not that easy, sensei, Tsunade said. Hiruzen sighed heavily. I never said it was easy. Listen, I've been aware of the lives you have been living after you left Konoha, and frankly you had me worried. From what I could see, all what you did is try to run away from your personal demons, indulging in superficial pleasures for shallow comfort. But I can tell that neither of you have been happy, regardless of how much you might try to deny it. We all have lost somebody dear to us. I myself lost my beloved wife and many old friends to the Kyuubi a few days ago, yet here I am, taking the mantle of the Hokage once again. I'm not saying that we're all the same or that you shouldn't deal with grief, but how long has it been since both of you left? 6 years? Maybe more? I think it's about time you two start to move on. You can think of this as an opportunity. A new, fresh start. A chance to do something great. Don't you think it's about time to stop wandering around the world aimlessly wasting your lives in vain pleasures, and start doing something productive with your lives again? Both of you want to take care of Naruto. If that's the case, show me that you're worth him. Show me that you're able to not let your demons to get in the way of rekindling your friendship. Show me that the great and powerful sannin, the ninjas I helped to shape are still there, instead of the gambler and the pervert before me. A deafening silence followed Sarutobi's speech. Both sannin wanted to reply, but they just weren't able to. They couldn't find the right words. Any words. They glanced at each other, hoping that the other would have a clever reply that would get them out of admitting that their sensei was right, but there was none. Jiraiya sighed in defeat. There was no way out of here. Okay. I'm willing to raise Naruto together. What do you say, Haim? Tsunade had calmed down a bit, and looked just as pensive as Jiraiya. Alright, if this is what I have to do so I can be with my only family. But don't dare to get any ideas. Understood? Tsunade said, pointing an accusatory finger at him. Jiraiya raised his hands in defense. Hey, I didn't say anything. And you'll see that I can be a perfect gentleman. You better be. Then it's settled, Sarutobi said, visibly satisfied, as he stood up from his desk. Now, would you like to see Naruto? They didn't need to answer. Sarutobi guided his two former students to a room in the lower floor, in which a teen girl was being instructed by one of them at a ninjas how to hold baby Naruto. At the girl's feet there was a small pig wearing a maroon jacket and a pearl necklace. I see that you're getting to know Naruto, Shizune, Tsunade said when she saw her apprentice. Oh, Tsunade-sama. Did you get Naruto's custody? Shizune said, smiling at her. Yeah, more or less, Tsunade replied. More or less? What does that mean? I got joint custody with Jiraiya over here, Tsunade said as he motioned to her fellow sannin. We'll be living together from now onwards. Oh, you're Jiraiya-sama? The teen girl asked. I'm so glad to meet you. Tsunade-sama told me a lot about you. Shazam! Tsunade shouted. Really? That's nice to hear. And exactly what did she say about me? Jiraiya asked with a perverted grin. Wipe that grin from your face, you pervert. The first thing we're going to do once we settle is to establish a series of rules to make sure we have a tolerable coexistence. You got that? Of course, Haim. You know I'd hate to do something to get on your bad side. That's good to hear. So, shall we move to Minato's old house already? Actually, I don't think that's a good idea, Hiruzen intervened. Come again? You see, Minato had a lot of enemies that would love to get revenge on him through his son, so I believe that we should keep Naruto's existence, as well as his parentage and his condition as a Jinchurikia secret outside Konoha's walls. That's why I think we should sell all of Minato and Kushina's properties, and use that money to buy a new house for the four of you to live in. Also, I think that we should give Naruto his mother's last name instead. But sensei, Naruto has the right to know who his parents are. We'd make a disservice to Minato and Kushina's memory, Jiraiya calmly protested. I guess you got a point there, Jiraiya. Alright, for the time being, you can tell Naruto that his parents were powerful ninja who died the night the Kyuubi attacked, but keep their names a secret for the time being. Same goes with the Kyuubi. Sorry sensei, but I have to disagree there as well. You simply can't keep such a thing a secret from him, especially since the rest of the village knows about it already, Jiraiya protested once again. It's for his own protection. How being ignorant to the incredibly dangerous being inside him is going to protect him exactly? Jiraiya didn't bother to hide his skepticism. Listen, I want Naruto to have a normal life. That's what his parents would have wanted. Naruto carries a heavy burden on his shoulders, but he shouldn't be aware of it yet. That's why I'm going to enact a law in order to forbid the Kyuubi from being even mentioned by either ninja or civilians, under penalty of immediate execution. Let me tell you why that's a monumentally stupid idea, Jiraiya replied. Sarutobi couldn't help but feel outraged at Jiraiya's bluntness. Your solution amounts to ignore the Kyuubi. We can ignore it, but that won't make the Kyuubi disappear, and everybody else knows that. Forbidding people from talking about the Kyuubi might protect Naruto to some extent, but it won't make people forget that the Kyuubi is still inside him, nor stopping them from seeing Naruto as a bomb ready to go off at any moment. Even if that's true, how can Naruto have a normal life then? Let's face the facts, such thing is impossible. Naruto won't have a normal life, Tsunade interceded. Both Jiraiya and Sarutobi turned at her in surprise. Not that that's a bad thing, though. Normal doesn't have to mean happy. Jiraiya and I will ensure that Naruto's childhood is as fulfilling as possible. Thanks for backing me up, Haim, Jiraiya said, smiling at her. I'm just stating the truth. But if his generation grows up knowing that Naruto carries the demon fox, it might alter their perception of him and will judge him unfairly. It will be nearly impossible for him to make friends, Sarutobi interjected once again. Tell me, sensei, do you think anybody would let their children near Naruto knowing what he's holding inside? At the very least, with all the facts, the children will be able to judge Naruto by themselves. And if they're unable to differentiate between the prisoner and its jailer, then they aren't worth his time, Jiraiya said. You seem very sure of yourself, Jiraiya. Are you sure this won't backfire? I would be lying if I said I was 100% sure, but I do believe that it is the best option. Let's have faith that the new generation will accept Naruto and won't judge him unfairly. You always drilled into our heads the importance of protecting the next generation. If we protect them, then we can place some trust in them, right? Sarutobi spent a few moments silent, pondering Jiraiya's words. A smile slowly crept his wrinkled face, and soon the old ninja was laughing, much to his students' bemusement. To think that I just had one of my teachings used against me. Yeah, guess that you proved your point, Jiraiya. There will be no special laws regarding Naruto. You two will be tasked with his protection and well-being, and we'll have faith that Naruto will be accepted among his peers, regardless of his burden, Sarutobi said. There's one more thing I'd like to talk about. Even if I can guess your answer, is there a chance that you may rejoin Konoha's ninja ranks again? Besides getting back two of the most powerful ninja Konoha ever produced, Hiruzen was hoping that the return of the sannin would help boost the incredibly low morale of Konoha's citizens. Sorry, but number. I came back here to take care of my only blood family left, not to be a killer and relive painful memories, Tsunade firmly stated. I'm with her. I left the ninja life behind. I'm a writer now. We will get involved with Naruto's training once he's old enough. He was about to add should Naruto choose to become a ninja, but for somebody like Naruto, that wasn't a choice. He'd have to be a ninja for his own sake. Both sannin hoped they could convince him to take that path. But think in all the good you could do. Konoha's in its darkest hour. I'll ask you to reconsider, Sarutobi said, almost begging. He knew that if he passed this opportunity, he'd never had the chance to convince them to go back to being ninjas again. Here's my counter-proposal. I'll take a job at the Konoha hospital, and I'm willing to even train future medic nins. But I'm never going back to a battlefield, Tsunade said. Hiruzen seemed to agree with her terms. He then turned to Jiraiya. Now that Tsunade made a concession, he'll have to do one as well. If there's a mission that absolutely nobody else can do, you can call me, was the Toad Sage's offer. Also, my spy network is at your service. Good to see that I can count on both of you, even if it's on such terms. Even if it was tragic circumstances that made you return, I'm glad to have you two back on Konoha, Sarutobi said in a heartfelt manner. Then it's all settled. When do we move in? Tsunade asked, impatient. 3 weeks later neither Jiraiya nor Tsunade had much luggage, due to both of them being wanderers, and hoped that they could move to a house to begin their new life. However, it took Naruto's new family some time before they could be settled in. With Minato's money, they bought and remodeled a 2-story house with a yard, that had been damaged during the Kyuubi attack. It needed a lot of work before they could live on it, such as giving the front a paint job, replace broken glasses, fix the plumbing and the electricity, and move out the previous occupants' possessions, who had sadly died during the Kyuubi attack, and were given to their closest relatives. While they worked on the house, they were forced to live on an improvised shelter for other people who also lost their homes to the Kyuubi. Still, after weeks of hard work, they were ready to move in. Jiraiya had called dibs on setting up Naruto's bedroom. Despite Tsunade's very loud protests, in the end she had relented, and allowed the Toad Sage to have his way. The fact that he locked the door and didn't allow anybody to enter until he was done was enough to raise an alarm on the blonde's head. As Jiraiya was getting ready to show Tsunade and Shizune Naruto's room, Tsunade couldn't help but have a feeling of overwhelming regret. Alright, here it is. Jiraiya said as he opened the door. Tsunade braced herself for the worst. What do you think? Tsunade had to admit that it wasn't as bad as she had expected. The originally white walls were decorated with murals of beautiful forests and mountains with smiling toads on them. There was a toad-shaped crib on a corner with a few stuffed toads on it, a desk, and an empty wardrobe with toads carved on its doors. While I find the amount of toads excessive, at the very least you had enough taste not to put any poster of a half-naked girl, Tsunade said in approval. Oh, those will come when he gets older, Jiraiya said, and he was suddenly hit by a wave of killing intent coming from Tsunade and her ward. I mean, of course not. I know I can be a pervert, but I do know that there are some things not appropriated for children. Good to hear. They had to spend the rest of the day buying food, clothes, especially for Naruto, diapers, and other baby items. By the time they were finished, it was night time, and the three of them were exhausted. Tsunade placed Naruto on his crib, and went to sleep alongside Jiraiya and Shizune. While it took no time for Tsunade and Shizune to fall asleep, Jiraiya remained awake. His head asked the same question time after time. Would have been any different if I was in the village when the Kyuubi attacked? Based on the details Sarutobi had been willing to share of that tragic night, Jiraiya's mind went over and over with the possible scenarios of how that night could have ended if he was there. He spent an hour torturing himself by wondering if he could have been able to save at least one of Naruto's parents. Stop doing that, Jiraiya. You couldn't know something like that would happen. The only thing you can do now is take care of Naruto to the best of your ability, the sannin told himself. He then got up, and quietly went to Naruto's bedroom, making sure he didn't make any noise that could awake the other three people living under that roof. Jiraiya leaned on the crib, and looked at the infant laying there. Hey there little guy, how are you doing? Jiraiya said in a whisper. Naruto shifted in his sleeping seat. Don't worry, I know that you had to go through a lot, but the nightmare is already over. Tsunade and I are here to take care of you, and we will make sure that everything will be fine. Jiraiya continued to look at the sleeping baby. Can I tell you a secret? Don't tell Tsunade or Shizune, because they would get really mad if they knew. But I have plans for you. Great plans. Once I'm done with you, you will be the biggest pervert Konoha has ever seen, ha ha ha. I will teach you everything I know so no girl will be able to resist your charms. You will be a legend only second to yours truly. Oh yeah, and you'll be a great ninja too. I guess that's important as well. 6 months after the Kyuubi attack, Jiraiya and Tsunade were both exceptional ninja. The kind that they only appear once every few generations. They both graduated the academy at an age most kids still can't tie their shoelaces, made chunin before hitting puberty and managed to become jonin before being 16. From that point onwards, the two sannin, and their fallen teammate Orochimaru took a myriad of dangerous missions. If there was a task with a high chance of dying, they would do it without receiving a single scratch. If there was a mission that appeared to be impossible, they made it look as if it could be done by a mere genin. They never stopped to better themselves and improve in their areas of skill. Jiraiya became a seal master of renown and one of the few senjutsu practitioners alive. Tsunade became one of the best medical ninja the world ever knew. And both of them became incredibly powerful ninja, overshadowed by few and admired by many. Still, despite all the skills they had learned and honed over their lifespans, nothing could prepare them for the horror that it was to take care of a baby. Naruto used to cry a lot, often for no reason, and at completely random times, though he was rather fond of doing it at night time. He had to be watched constantly, or else he would somehow disappear, only to mysteriously appear outside the house. He would try to grab anything within his short reach, and more often than not he would try to eat it. One of the few things that would calm Naruto whenever he had a crying fit was Tsunade holding him against her chest. Jiraiya had joked that Tsunade's knockers would of course have a soothing effect on any man, no matter their age. Yet it turned out to be more than a joke when the Slug Princess breastfed Naruto, and the little Jinchuriki just wouldn't let go of her breast. The fact that the baby was positively elated whenever Tsunade started to undo her blouse wasn't a good sign at all. This is bad. You're not even a year old, yet Jiraiya is already rubbing off on you. Tsunade said after the first time it happened. Or then again, it could be something else, since Naruto's stomach was a bottomless pit. He would eat a lot, and would never be satisfied. He always wanted more, and whenever his food was denied, he would go into a crying fit. Everybody wondered where the hell his little body stored all that food. On the bright side, Naruto was at least easy to feed, if a bit costly. Today was one of Tsunade's 2 days off after a rather long shift at the hospital. She would have spent the day sleeping, but neither Jiraiya nor Shizune were there, so she had to watch over Naruto, who just had calmed down from one of his random crying fits. She sighed in relief when she heard the main door opening. "Tsunade-sama, I'm back," said Shizune's voice as she entered the house. Shizune was wearing a green flak vest common among the Konoha Chunin and Jonin over her usual clothes. A forehead protector was wrapped around her head. Unlike Tsunade and Jiraiya, Shizune showed interest in joining the Konoha ninja. Shikakunara, Konoha's current Jonin commander, alongside other Jonin, tested her abilities to determine her rank, and they decided she was good enough to be a Chunin. Plus she was a good medic, something Konoha was in desperately need of. Everybody hoped that Tsunade's presence in the village would solve the issue. "Good, because I need you to go buy some baby food." "I was about to go myself, but you know how Naruto gets when we go out and he's hungry," the blonde woman replied. "What? And what happened with all the baby food that I bought before I left for my mission?" Shizune asked, incredulous. Tsunade stared at her in a way that said, "Do you really need to ask?" Without further ado, the younger woman nodded and went to buy the much needed food. Tsunade wondered what was Jiraiya doing. Given that the Toad Sage rarely left the house, Tsunade had forbidden him from doing any research anymore, meaning that he could only use his imagination to write his erotic novels. She was hoping that he would take care of the baby while she had a much needed nap. But unfortunately for the legendary sucker, an Anbu appeared, claiming that the Hokage requested Jiraiya's presence. Of course, such a convenient timing. It seemed that fate was conspiring against her. Meanwhile, in the Hyuga compound, a toddler sneezed. "A broken bar, sensei. I wasn't expecting that you would call me into action so soon. Are you sure that this mission is something no other ninja but me can do?" the Toad Sage asked, a bit skeptical. Once the old Hokage activated all the privacy seals, he answered. Yes indeed. You're the best information gathered this village has seen. If somebody can unfold this mystery, it's you. Let me guess, you think that the Kyuubi escaping Kushina wasn't an accident? Jiraiya ventured to ask. Because we all knew that it was something that could happen. Yes, and we set the proper measures. But no, that's not why we came to the conclusion that there was somebody behind the attack. Enlighten me then. After the Kyuubi had been contained, we recovered the bodies of my wife, Biwako, who was the midwife during the delivery, as well as the few Anbu that we had stationed to make sure nothing happened. The autopsy revealed wounds inflicted by ninja weapons. Shouldn't you have told me this much earlier? Jiraiya asked. Maybe, but I didn't want to call you into action so soon. You see, there has been another investigation going on during these past months, carried out by Danzo and his branch of Anbu. Jiraiya frowned upon hearing the name. Danzo was known for being an extremist, often inducted orphans to bolster his organization's ranks, was an open critic of Sarutobi's conciliatory efforts with other villages, and never bothered to hide that he wanted to be Hokage more than anything. Fortunately, he never had enough support to achieve such ambition. I see. Did they find something? If Jiraiya was asking this, he knew there would be two possible answers: they either found nothing, or they found something that Sarutobi didn't like, and wanted a second opinion. The super pervert prayed for the former, but just like with Tsunade, fate felt like conspiring against the sannin. Yes, Sarutobi said, sighing. Danzo and I had been discussing the events of that night. According to the many witnesses he interrogated, it's not like the Kyuubi simply broke through our walls, it suddenly appeared in the middle of the village, coming out of a cloud of smoke. That sounds awfully similar to the summoning jutsu, Jiraiya pointed out. Indeed it is. But then again summoning the Kyuubi. The only person I can think of being able to pull something like that is Madara Akaya, and he has been dead for decades. Maybe he had an apprentice? Someone he trained on how to tame the tailed beasts? It sounds rather far-fetched. We all know that Madara left the village alone, and tried to attack it alone. He never married nor had any children that could avenge his death. Anyway, Danzo decided that Madara was a good starting point. He made some interesting discoveries. Besides Hashirama-sensei, Madara also had a way to control the tailed beasts. We believe it was his Sharingan. You see, Madara's Sharingan wasn't normal. Apparently, he managed to awake a higher level of Sharingan, that granted him extraordinary new powers. So? Madara was an unbelievably powerful ninja who had plenty of unique abilities, just like Hashirama. That doesn't mean said abilities can be replicated by his clansmen, just like how Hashirama's descendants did not inherit the wood or lease. The thing is, they can be replicated. You see, this new Sharingan, named Mangekyo Sharingan, is an ability every Uchiha can attain, but very few do because of its high price. If what Danzo uncovered is accurate, the prerequisite to awaken this Mangekyo Sharingan is to murder with your own hands someone you're close to or you love. The Uchiha might be a bit too battle-eager, but not even them would go so far just for the sake of power. But Danzo believes that one of them did. Yes. Even if that's true. What was the point of throwing the Kyuubi into the village? What did this person would have gained? Wait. Please tell me Danzo doesn't believe the whole clan was behind the attack. Sadly, he does. Stupid one-eyed zealot. Jiraiya muttered. This made the Toad Sannin feel grateful for not having Danzo as the Hokage, or else the situation could have been much worse. That's stupid on every level. I know. That's why he ordered the Uchiha to stay in the rear and help the civilian evacuation. He didn't want any Uchiha to be near the Kyuubi. Of course, a thief believes everybody steals, Jiraiya said. He had no doubt that that's what Danzo would do if he had the power to tame the beast. You have to stop Danzo. The Uchiha are already cranky as they are without him poking them with a stick. That's why I called you, Jiraiya. The only way I can stop Danzo is with enough tangible evidence to discredit his own investigation. And I can't think in anybody better than you to gather said evidence. While I'm flattered that you think so highly of my skills, I'm not omniscient. This will take quite some time. I know. While you're working, I'll make sure to keep Danzo on a tight leash. Alright then, Jiraiya said as he headed for the door. Oh, and one more thing. Do you realize that if I work on this, it will cut into my writing time, meaning that I will take much longer to finish the next Kikabook, right? Sarutobi gasped in shock, his eyes opened wide in horror. But said horror was short-lived, and his face soon relaxed. A sad smile formed in his mouth. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for the greater good, Jiraiya, regardless of how painful they may be. A broken bar Shizune was in a mart close to her home, carrying out Tsunade's requests. After finding Naruto's favorite brand of baby food, she decided to buy all of it in one go to save further trips. Though she couldn't help but wonder how long it would last. He needed to teach that kid the meaning of the word moderation. Excuse me miss, a voice behind Shizune said. The black-haired kunoichi turned around, and saw a boy looking at her. The boy would be about 5 or 6 years old. He had dull black hair long enough to be styled in a ponytail, deep black eyes, and wore a black shirt, black pants and blue sandals. He appeared to be an Uchiha. Yes? Can I help you? Shizune said, putting up her best smile. Do you really need all that baby food? I'd like some too, if it's not asking much. There is more baby food left here. Yes, but that's the only brand my brother will eat without throwing a tantrum, the black-haired boy said. Oh, I can totally relate to that, Shizune said, giggling. Guess that I wasn't too nice of me to take all of it like that. How many would you want? 2 would be enough. Shizune complied, and gave 2 jars of baby food to the boy. "There you go." "Thank you, miss. My name's Shizune, by the way." "Ichi." "Ichi Akaya," the boy said, confirming Shizune's guess. "Nice to meet you, Ichi-kun. Your brother is lucky to have such a nice and caring big brother like you taking care of him." Ichi blushed a little. "Thanks." Both of them headed to the cashier. Ichi decided to keep talking. "You know that baby of yours must be really big if he eats that much," Ichi commented, looking at Shizune's basket, loaded with jars of baby food. "That's the funny thing, he's so little. Tsunade-sama said that one day she's going to find where all the food he eats goes, because he's always hungry, and never gets fat." "Tsunade-sama?" Ichi repeated. Then a realization suddenly dawned on him. "Wait a minute, that baby of yours is the kid with the demon fox sealed inside?" Shizune's bright mood suddenly darkened, and pondered if he should answer him. But then again, most of the village already knew her as one of Naruto's caretakers, so lying would be pointless. "Yes, he is." "And how is he?" Ichi asked with genuine curiosity. "What do you mean? Does he have something that makes him different from other babies?" "Nothing that I have noticed. Trust me, deep down he's like everybody else. My parents didn't say anything, but I heard many grown-ups saying that he's dangerous, and that we should stay away from him." "That's nonsense. Naruto's a normal kid like any other. Just because he has a demon sealed inside him doesn't make him dangerous. The seal the fourth placed on him will make sure the Kibai won't see daylight in a long, long time." "Then why do they bring Jiraiya-sama and Tsunade-sama taking care of him?" Shizune didn't like the course the conversation was taking. "What do you mean by bring?" "They say that the Hokage had to recall the 2 legendary sannin to keep the demon fox under watch and make sure he doesn't try to destroy Konoha again." Shizune was livid. Where did that rumors come from? Wasn't people aware of Jiraiya being the kid's godfather and Tsunade-sama being his only blood relative alive? It was obvious that neither Tsunade-sama nor Jiraiya-sama had heard of this rumors, or else they would have done something. She remembered the first time she decided to take a walk while carrying Naruto on a stroller. People shouted at her to get away from them, that she was putting them in danger by taking that thing out of his cage. At first she tried to ignore them and go somewhere else, but whenever he went, the treatment she got was the same. How could they be afraid of such an innocent creature? The next time she went on a walk with Naruto, Tsunade went with them as well. And they got the same treatment the moment they placed a foot on another street. That was a fatal mistake. Only Shizune's pleas stopped Tsunade from leveling the entire district. Still, quite a few people had to be hospitalized. From that day onwards, the verbal abuse stopped. But things didn't change that much. Whenever Shizune would walk with Naruto, people would simply return to their homes or leave the street until she and her would wear far enough. Some people muttered under their breath words the medic in training couldn't hear but could guess. They also shot her cold stares. She feared that Naruto would have a hard time making friends. But then again, this was a new scenario for her. While she already knew what most adults thought about Naruto, she was now talking to a child with no visible parent present. It was a golden opportunity not only to learn what any children would think of Naruto, but to erase whatever prejudices were implanted inside his young mind. Let me tell you that's a lie. Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama are taking care of Naruto because both of them had strong ties with their parents. If that wasn't the case, then Naruto would be on an orphanage or under the care of any foster family. He doesn't need to be under watch. Like I told you before, the fourth seal will make sure the Kibai never returns. Ichi's expression didn't change. I see. Then if you live with him, you're not afraid that the Kibai won't be back. Then I shouldn't be afraid either. Exactly. I'm so glad that you understand it, Shizune said, elated. Maybe there was hope at all. After paying for the baby food, Shizune and Ichi went their separate ways. Goodbye, Shizune-san. It was nice to meet you. Feelings mutual, Ichi-kun. I hope we meet again sometime soon. Shizune was in a considerably better mood now. That Ichi looked like a really nice and smart kid. Too bad he was too old to be Naruto's playmate. If only Naruto could meet some kids like him, then maybe she won't have to worry about him growing up without friends. Nevertheless, that possibility felt more plausible now. Maybe Jiraiya-sama was right about trusting the next generation. A broken Tsunade was already regretting spending the afternoon napping, since once night arrived, she was too rested to fall asleep. She constantly shifted in her bed trying to get into a comfortable position, fluffed her pillow multiple times, opened the window in order to allow some fresh breeze in, closed the window once the room got too cold, opened the window again, until she punched the pillow in frustration. Maybe her best friend since she became an adult would be of some help. She got up from the bed, put on a robe and went to the living room. Turned out that Jiraiya was there, also awake, as well as her and Jiraiya's best friend, a bottle of sake. "What are you doing up so late?" Jiraiya asked. "I could ask you the same," Tsunade retorted. "True, but I did ask first." Tsunade groaned. "Okay, fine, I couldn't sleep and thought that some sake could help. So you may pour me a cup now. What about you?" "Sarutobi-sensei tasked me with a big-ass mission that's going to take years to complete, and if I fail Konoha's relationship with the Uchiha clan may go down the drain," Jiraiya said as he carefully poured some sake on Tsunade's cup. "I thought that you'd sleep like a log, given how overworked you've been this week." "I spent all the day sleeping, so yeah, guess that I mess my sleeping cycle," Tsunade said as she emptied her sake cup in one go. Jiraiya refilled it without a single word from the blonde. "Do you hear that?" Jiraiya asked. "Hear what?" Tsunade said, taken aback. "Was somebody trying to break into their home?" "I hear nothing." "Exactly. Naruto hasn't cried a single time since sunset. I think that's a first. I didn't realize of that. And here we are, unable to sleep in our first silent night since we took care of that noisy breath. You've never been someone who appreciated irony." "Oh, I do appreciate irony. When it happens to somebody else." "Hee hee, you're quite the smart girl, aren't you?" Jiraiya chuckled. "By the way, Haim, can I ask you something? I'm not drunk enough for that." "Wow, shot down before I even asked. But I didn't mean that. Did you ever imagine your life turning out like this?" Tsunade wondered about the question. The answer was a definitive number. Since she was young, her picture of the future was her being married to her boyfriend Dan Kato, who would be Hokage, with her little brother Nawaki on his way to succeed him in the future. They would have at least 2 children. Tsunade would be retired from active duty and would work at the hospital, either treating the sick and wounded, or helping to shape the minds of the future generation of medics. Yet fate had different plans for her. Dan and Nawaki's lives were brutally cut short before her very eyes. Unable to deal with so much death around her, she decided to flee Konoha and wander aimlessly around the world. She stopped thinking about the future and focused on the present. But the few times she did think in the future, she could only picture herself either dying alone on an alleyway after drinking way too much. But being back in Konoha, and raising a kid alongside Jiraiya. No, that never entered her mind. Hearing about the fate of Naruto's parents awoke a spark of determination within Tsunade that the sannin thought it was long extinct. Maybe she failed to save Dan and Nawaki, but she swore that she'll do her best to ensure Naruto's safety. Yet something that at first appeared some sort of self-imposed atonement task turned out to be rather pleasant. Taking care of Naruto was a taxing job, but Tsunade considered it as much rewarding. And while living with Jiraiya didn't appeal to her one bit, the Toad Sage was a much nicer housemate than she had expected. In all these moths, He had never broke once the rules she had set. It almost felt like the old times. No, Tsunade finally answered. Not that I complain. I didn't achieve much after leaving the village. I feel that I'm doing something with my life again. Guess that old monkey was right, huh? What about you? Like Tsunade, Jiraiya also had dreams. He dreamed of marrying Tsunade and maybe have a couple brats with her. They'd live in a huge mansion. His reputation as a writer would even surpass his reputation as a ninja. People would fawn over him, gush about his talents and ask him to sign their books. He'd convince Orochimaru to drop his evil ways and return back to Konoha. Like Tsunade, Jiraiya didn't think in the future, not even once, since he was too afraid to think about it. His life was plagued by failures and very little accomplishments. So far, his life was a cycle of doing his research to write his books to earn money, then blow up that money on alcohol and women, then start to work on his next book. Yet here he was, living under the same roof as Tsunade without even being in a relationship with her and taking care of a kid that wasn't his own nor Tsunade's did not. It was a good thing that Jiraiya did appreciate irony. But then again, now he suddenly didn't feel so afraid of thinking about the future. The thought that Tsunade and Naruto were part of it brought some comfort to his tortured mind. No, but even if being a swinging bachelor unchained by responsibilities such as fatherhood was something I greatly enjoyed. Being here with you and taking care of Minato's breath is a nice change of pace. By the way, how's that new book coming along? Slower than usual, between being back on duty and you not letting me to do more research. Not gonna happen. At least as long as you want to continue living in this house and raising Naruto. I didn't say anything. No, but you were thinking it. It was you who asked about the book. And I didn't know you read minds now. Are you part Yamanaka as well, besides being Senju and Uzumaki? I don't need mind reading powers to know what you're thinking. You've always been like an open book. I see. Do I make for an interesting read then? Jiraiya said with a wide grin on his face. When you behave properly, you certainly do. Jiraiya chuckled, but didn't say anything in return. They both continued drinking until Tsunade thought about something worth talking again. What do you think Orochimaru is doing right now? Jiraiya almost choked on his sake. Oh come on Haim. We were having a moment here, and you ruin it by bringing up that treacherous snake? I believe that you and I don't share the same definition of having a moment. And given that we're reflecting on our lives and future, I thought it would be fitting to talk about him. He used to be our teammate. Don't remind me. Well, from what I knew, the snake's probably cutting up the corpse of some poor bastard in a vain effort to understand the natural order of the universe or bullshit like that. You know, it's kinda sad that he's the only one of us whose life is turning out the way he planned it. He doesn't seem to have any regrets over anything. Maybe if we decided to go rogue instead of legally retiring we would have been happy. Trust me, Orochimaru is everything but happy. He wanted to become Hokage, yet he got that denied. And he's embarked on a foolish quest for immortality that will end in disaster, simply because the guy is too afraid to die. The only thing that stopped me from enjoying his eventual demise is all the innocent lives he's going to take with him. You know, you don't have to say that to make me feel better. Or to make you feel better about yourself. I'm not saying it because of that. Well, maybe a little. When you're down, seeing other people down, especially hated enemies, can be a bit of a consolation. But I know that everything I said is true. Do you think we'll see him again? I'm afraid so. I don't think he'll ever let go of the grudge against Konoha and Sensei. He'll come back for revenge. Maybe not now, but sometime in the future. I'm certain of it. Well, that's an uplifting thought. Once again, it was you who asked. Yeah, bringing up Orochimaru might not have been a very good idea. It's okay. Alcohol can do that to you. Speaking of which, more sake? I think I'll pass, Tsunade said with a wave of her hand. Jiraiya gave her a look. Don't stare me like that. I might like to drink, but even I know when I had enough. I think I'm going back to bed. Yeah, that's a good idea, Jiraiya said. He was expecting Tsunade misinterpreting his words and loudly say how she didn't invite him into her bed, but said comment that never came. I think that maybe we should do this more often. Or at the very least whenever we can't sleep. I'll have to buy more sake then. Good night, Tsunade. Good night, Jiraiya. Maybe it was the alcohol, or maybe it was the heart-to-heart, but both Tsunade and Jiraiya were feeling a little better about themselves, and managed to fall asleep rather quickly. And would have remained asleep until the next morning if it wasn't for certain somebody waking up all of a sudden. Naruto's cries could be heard across the whole neighborhood. I hate that kid so much. Tsunade grumbled as she lazily got out of her bed. Thank you for watching.